NFL free agency is just over 2 weeks away, and teams got to make some tough decisions when it regards to certain players because they got to get cap compliant or they want to save some money. So we're going to take a look at 10 notable names that could get cut between now and the start of free agency here on Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Let's start with a big name. That is Joey Bosa, the edge rusher with the Chargers, who's been a very good player for a while. He's not as good as his brother Nick, but still a notable pass rusher. He's kind of teetered off due to injuries and getting a little bit older, although he's still not super old. The problem is his $36.5 million cap hit is the highest cap hit of any edge rusher for 2025. It's just way too big of a number for what he produces at this stage in his career. When healthy, he's still a starter and still a good player. He's not an elite all-pro, though. Chargers can save $25 million if they cut him. I would expect them to do that. Maybe he takes a pay cut. Maybe they do a restructured deal, but I think there's a better than 50-50 chance he's playing for a different team next season due to being a salary cap cut casualty for Los Angeles. Okay, another notable name, Davante Adams, the Jets wide receiver. Clearly not going to be back with the Jets. He went there to play with Rodgers. He's already been informed he's going to be cut. So Davante Adams is next up here as his $38.3 million cap hit is just untenable for any team. So they're going to cut him. They'll save almost $30 million. If they post June 1, it's only a little bit more. So I think they'll just take on the $8.5 million dead cap money for this year. He'll be on a new team. He'll either follow Aaron Rodgers somewhere or he'll go back to the West Coast where his family is. That's what I would guess. Maybe a team like the Chargers or Rams would bring him in. Perhaps the 49ers as well if they move on from Deebo Samuel, who we'll talk about a little bit later. But Adams will not be with the Jets next season. Where do you think he'll be? Where will Davante Adams play in 2025? Still a good player. I think a high-end number 2, low-end number 1 at this point in his career. If you had to guess, where do you think he plays in 2025? Von Miller next up here on our NFL cut candidates list, the edge rusher for the Bills. Just has not worked out that well. They gave him that huge contract a few years ago, and he's flashed some, but he had some injuries last year that kind of bled into this year a little bit as well. Now they only save $8.4 million for a current cap hit that's almost 24, so they would be eating about $15 million in dead cap money. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that or if they post June 1 cut him, which would save him $17.4 million. But remember, in a post June 1 designation, you don't actually get that money that you to spend until June 2nd. Now, some teams will still do it anyway and kind of use some of that money to carry over into next season or to help pay for this year's draft class. Obviously, Buffalo is a team that is going to want to try to be somewhat aggressive this offseason to see if they can get over the hump. They've been linked in potential Myles Garrett trade rumors, so we'll see what they do. But Von Miller's a role player at this point, and he's paid like a high-end starter. I don't expect him to be back on that price tag. Jaire Alexander with the Green Bay Packers. It was reported recently by ESPN Packers reporter Rob Demovsky that a split is expected. In 3 of the last 4 years, he's played 7 games or less. Had 1 year where he played in 16 out of 17, but injury problems have been an issue in Green Bay. There seems to be kind of a friction between he and the Packers organization, so he will get cut. Again, it'll just depend on what type of cut they designate him. Do they just cut him outright and, eat about, what's that number? About $16 million, $17 million. They would save 6.8. About an $18 million dead cap hit this year, or do you post June 1 them and just get more money out on June 2nd? They'd save $17 million in that scenario, have a little dead money next year as well. I kind of think they just rip the Band-Aid off, take the $6.8 million in savings this year, and be completely off the books of him next year. That would be my guess. More teams are doing that now because they don't want money down the road for a player who's been gone for more than a year, but we will see how the Packers handle that one. Christian Kirk, the Jaguars wide receiver, is a guy that could cut. They could also keep him. They could restructure. We'll see how they approach that. We'll see what Liam Cohen thinks of him as a potential fit in his offense with Trevor Lawrence. $24 million cap. It's pretty big, though, for a player who's, probably a number 2, number 3 receiver at this point. They'd save $10.4 million if they cut him. $14 million dead cap hit, so steep, but you're saving $10 million. That could turn into a new starter. The Jags, if they post June 1 cut him, could save over $16 million. Is that a big enough difference from 10 to 16 to, not see the money until June 2nd? I'm not sure. I could see them just cutting him outright and going in a new direction. They also could restructure. I think there's a chance they work things out. He's had some injuries the last couple of years. Maybe he'd be willing to take a pay cut. Subscribe to us here at Verts. We cover the latest NFL news, rumors, combine gets going this week, draft, free agency. It's all coming up this offseason. We're hitting it all here on this channel. We are closing in on 8,000 subscribers. If you want to help us get there, hit that subscribe button. Okay, 5 more here. Derek Carr with the Saints. The Saints are in cap hell. I honestly don't know how they're going to get cap compliant. They may have no choice but to just restructure Carr, which would push it back another year in terms of how long he's going to be their quarterback. He previously is on the record for saying he's not going to take a pay cut, so they're kind of in a tough spot. If they post June 1 cut him, they save $30 million, which is a lot, but again, you don't get that money till June 2nd, and you have to be cap compliant by the start of the new league year. Saints are $44 million in the hole. If they cut him pre-June 1, they only save like $1 million, $2 million. So they're going to have to get really creative. They may have no choice but to just restructure Carr, which they've done for years with a lot of their guys. And now it's kind of, they're having to pay the piper on that because they don't have much cap flexibility. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I would try to move on from him. Maybe you can get a team to trade for him, which would save them like $10 million this year. But, yeah, that's a tricky situation right now in New Orleans. Will the Saints cut Derek Carr? C for cut, K for keep. I want to say cut, but I don't know. They may have no choice but to restructure and keep him for one more year. Okay, Cooper Kupp with the Rams. They're trying to trade him, obviously, as they informed him that they're going to work on a trade. His cap hit of almost $30 million is just too much for what he brings at this point. He's kind of just like a good number 3 receiver. Really good blocker, doesn't separate like he used to. They'd save $7.5 million by cutting him. They would eat 22, so big number, but they'd be off the books next year. If they post June 1 cut him, they'd save $15 million with some extra dead money next year. So, again, you have some options there if you're the Rams. Ideally, they would trade him, but any team that trades for him takes on $20 million. So they'd maybe have to attach a pick to do that. So I don't know. Would a team like the Patriots or the Commanders with a lot of cap space and a need at receiver do it? Perhaps, especially if they are throwing an extra pick, maybe like the Patriots throw the Rams a 6th-round pick and the Rams send Cooper Kupp in a 4th or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see. Javon Hargrave, the defensive tackle with the 49ers, who had really the first notable injury of his career this year. Tore his triceps, missed most of the season. I think he played in 3 games. Still a really good interior pass rusher. The Niners actually announced at the end of the regular season they're going to post June 1 cut him. Now, could they change their minds? I guess. As of now, there's no official transaction. If you do a post-June 1 cut, you actually have to wait until the start of the league year. So I would expect that still happens. This would save San Francisco $2.25 million there, and we'll see where he ends up signing. Deebo Samuel, kind of like Cooper Kupp, there's trade buzz there. It's easier for the Niners to trade Samuel than it is for the Rams to trade Kupp, because trading Samuel actually has San Francisco take on more dead cap money. His cap hit is currently around $17 million. If they trade or cut him pre-June 1, it jumps up to $31 million. If they post-June 1 cut him, they save a little bit of money. We'll look at that figure in a second. Latest ESPN report is that several teams are interested in a Deebo trade. We talked about this on Friday. Go check out that video. The reason the Niners would be willing to trade him and take on more dead cap money this year is like, well, if they can get a middle round pick, like a 3rd or even a 4th, they'll take on the extra $14 million in dead money if they feel like they can get an impactful player with that selection. I do wonder if the offers are like 5th, 6th, or later, if they just end up post-June 1 cutting them, which would save $5.1 million in that scenario. They're not really in a good spot with Deebo's contract, because if they cut or trade him pre-June 1, they lose even more money on the cap, and he's not coming back, so you can't just keep him on that $17 million dead cap hit. They're honoring his request for a new team. It's it's one of those tricky ones. And then lastly, Gardner Minshew, he will get cut, barring a surprise in Vegas. Just a matter of if it'll be a pre or post June 1 cut for Minshew. $14 million cap hit, you'd save almost half of that if you just do a straight up cut. If it's a post June 1 cut, they save $9.3 million, have a little extra dead money next year. I would just do the pre-June 1 cut and move on, and then Minshew becomes a bridge option, top backup option for quarterback-needy teams that need another guy in their room. So we'll see what happens there as well. There you have it, 10 notable names that could be cut between between now and the start of NFL free agency, which is on Monday, March 10th. The tampering period, and then that Wednesday, the 12th, is when contracts can officially be inked. So it's going to be here very quick. We'll have it all covered here on 4 Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. See you guys soon.